Well, hello there, everyone, and thank you for joining me here today. I'd like to welcome you all to the first new rendition of the Mad Philosopher Society podcast. Now, I originally had advertised that I was going to have a special guest here today, Dr. Carrie Jans. Me and her have been really hard at work filming a new episode for you guys. I jumped the gun, promoted it a little bit too early, so it's not quite ready for prime time. We're still working on it. And that will be the next coming episode that you guys see, will be the interview with Dr. Carrie Jans on the mental health crisis. So look forward to that. It's going to be an awesome show, man. We've been working really hard on it, and it's going to be really good. But I did ask you guys for your own questions. I asked you guys to go ahead and submit some questions when I advertised that upcoming podcast. And I wanted to do diligence here and get back to you guys on some answers to those really important questions that you guys asked. So again, thank you for joining me here, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first question that I got was how to find your Zen. So now I think with Zen, it's important that we realize that now, first of all, I'm no Zen expert. This is just what I've learned from various audiobooks that I've listened to. I'm just a huge audiobook nerd, you know? So on the topic of Zen really isn't a destination. Zen's not something that you find. Zen's about the way. Zen is a way. It's a practice. It's a way of living. So now, one of the most famous Zen practitioners, and my favorite philosopher, Miyamoto Musashi. He is a big influence in the Zen community. He wrote the Book of Five Rings, which is one of the most influential philosophical texts you can read. I highly recommend it. Anyone interested, go check out the Book of Five Rings. So in this book, the interesting thing that I found about it is, I picked up this book from Miyamoto Musashi thinking that I was going to get this introduction into Zen philosophy and how to practice and be more Zen. You start reading this book and you find out that it's really a text about sword fighting. It's all about sword technique, how to fight with the sword, how to stand, how to move, how to perceive your enemy, what to look for in the battle. So that kind of says it all about how Zen is really a way. Imagine climbing a mountain in search of answers from a Zen philosopher, and you get to the top of the mountain and then you reach this Zen philosopher. But rather than instructing you and giving you words of wisdom, he tells you to pick up a sword and tells you to practice and stand this way and move this way and to do this. And by doing this, you discover that Zen is really about it's about the practice. It's about the actions that you take. It's not really a destination that you're looking to find. Let's see. Another favorite Zen quote of mine is, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. See, that tells you, that the same things you do before enlightenment are going to be the same things that you do after enlightenment. After you reach and obtain some type of enlightenment, you're going to find out that it's really in the practice. It's really in the way that you live. It's really about being present in the moment and being attentive to what's going on in your life and what you're doing. It's not really so much a state that you're looking to achieve, so much as an awareness that you're looking to focus on everything that you do. So I thank you so much for that question. And moving on here, let's see, we go to, how do I practice self-compassion and confidence? So let's see, self-compassion and confidence. So for that, there was a really good lecture that was given by Thich Nhat Hanh on a YouTube video that I had watched before. If you go down into my page, you'll actually find snippets of that lecture that he gave that I turned into a reel. And in that reel, he says the number one way to practice self-compassion is to go home to your body, to learn to listen to your body and understand that, all your pains, all your frustrations, all your pleasures, they all come through your body. All of the world that you experience comes through your body. And he emphasizes that we need to realize that your body is a wonder. Your body is a miracle of the cosmos. So if you want to practice self-compassion, the first thing that you should do is appreciate your body. Appreciate what you have. You have a physical body that was given to you. No one else has a body like you do. Your body is unique to all of eternity and to the cosmos. There will never be another one like you. And just acknowledge that, all your fears and your frustrations are going to come through this body that you have. That's your instrument, your ground that you have to reach out into the universe and to observe and to take things in. So, see, that is some really influential stuff that I got from Thich Nhat Hanh on how to practice self-compassion. Also, let's see, another book that I finished recently that I found that was really good was The Myth of Normal by Gabor Mate. And there's an Aldous Huxley quote that I often replayed in my head while I was listening to this, where he says, after 40 years of research, I'm a little embarrassed to point out that the best advice I have to give is that we should be a little kinder to one another. So I'd say after listening to Gabor Mate's book that you can take that even a step further and say that we should also learn to be a little kinder to ourselves, to realize, that you have a history. You have a history of past traumas and events and whatnot that you need to heal from, and that they do affect you in profound ways. Our past does affect our response here today. So if you find that you're not being the person that you want to be in life, if you find that you feel that there are higher ideals that you wish that you could achieve and that you're not quite there, remember to be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself and acknowledge that, hey, I'm a collection of my past experiences and influences. So let's see here. I appreciate you guys for those questions. Let's see. And for confidence. So how to practice confidence. See, for me, I go to focusing on not taking life too seriously. I try to focus on, the funny side of things. Like say, for example, this podcast. Dude, I'm going to tell you, it takes some confidence to get up here in front of freaking, what am I up to now? Over 100,000 followers, and to get up in front of everyone here and speak to this morning. I'm coming off a graveyard shift and everything. So, I'm probably look fairly tired, looking to go to sleep here soon, but still, I came out here, dude, because it's something that I enjoy doing. It's something that I enjoy doing, and I try to find the funny side of it. And dude, I look at it like, come on, man. Who do I even think I am here? Who do I even think I am trying to preach to the choir and deposit words of wisdom on people? When I'm just a guy, dude, that has an appreciation for audiobooks and loves the study of human nature, So, if you really want to practice confidence, I think the number one way to do it is to not take things so seriously. Don't take life so seriously and the things that it throws at you. Learn to laugh at your circumstances. Learn to laugh at your traumas and your things that you've been through in life. And for me, that's always been what allows me to do what I do whenever I need confidence, is to find the absurdity in it and embrace it. So let's see here. What else do I got for you? So waking up early. How to wake up early. That was another question that I got from a good friend of mine. And, I had trouble with waking up early for many years. One of the things that I could say, if you have trouble waking up early, oh man, don't hesitate to go see the doctor. Don't hesitate to do what you got to do to take care of yourself. I went and saw the doctor and I learned what sleep apnea was. I was given a CPAP machine. This was back when I was heavy. I used to weigh over 300 pounds. I used to weigh over 330. That sleep apnea machine and getting used to that saved my life. I was able to use that every night. It was a struggle getting used to it, but eventually I was able to get used to it. And I would wake up after using it feeling like singing, So that was one of the major factors that allowed me to go down the weight loss journey that I had. And I lost about 180 pounds, but never would have happened. None of it would have happened if I hadn't originally had gone to the doctor. So if you feel that you're having trouble, you feel you're groggy in the morning waking up, don't hesitate to go see your doctor. Another thing that I also did, a down and dirty trick is pre-workout, man. The first thing I do when I get up in the mornings usually was work out. I'd come in here in my garage in my home gym, or I'd go to my the gym at work, and I would work out. I'd take my pre-workout, Jump out of bed, power through it, dude, and do some cardio right away. And you'll wake up. You'll wake up. It's about building momentum. Before you know it, you're like the ball rolling down the hill, dude, and you just can't stop yourself. You keep going and you get up first thing in the morning early because it's easier to get up than it is to stay in bed. It just takes practice and it takes time. So let's see here. Moving on with the questions that you guys gave me. So discipline and consistency. How to maintain discipline and practice consistency. So this is something that I definitely can say that I have experience doing. Having weighed over 330 pounds, having lost 180 pounds in a couple of years, you don't do that without a level of discipline and consistency. But what I will say is, in many ways, the weight loss industry today, what you see on Instagram in terms of weight loss, they get it wrong. They get it wrong. You see a lot of these fitness gurus tell you, oh, you just need discipline. The fact is that you're not motivated. You need to be more disciplined in life and stay away from the cookies. And the fact is, yeah, sure. I lost a freaking 180 pounds. You would think, oh, this guy's got it figured out. This guy has discipline. He's consistent. But the fact is, you're probably more disciplined than I am in a variety of other areas where I lack discipline. Maybe your car is cleaner than mine. Maybe your financial house is in better order than mine. Maybe you're more educated than I am. See, it's not that you lack discipline. It's to say that, oh, I struggle to lose weight because I lack discipline is automatically defeating yourself. What you need to look at it and say, it's not that I lack discipline, it's that I lack momentum in a certain area. See, you do have discipline. It's just not focused where you want it to focus. And how you build discipline, how you build that discipline in a certain direction is by building momentum. And don't look at it like you need discipline or like you need consistency. Look at it like you need to build momentum. See, that allows you to disassociate yourself from the more personal aspect of it. You can depersonalize it. When you say that I need discipline, I need motivation, you're making it personal. You're making it personal and you're defeating yourself. Momentum allows you to take the emotion out of it and to look at it as practical action steps that you need to take to actually build that momentum one step at a time. Because that's how I did it. And that's how I lost all that weight, was by building momentum. And like I said, it's a snowball rolling down the hill. Eventually, before you know it, you're going to get up and you're going to go and hit the gym, and you're just not going to be able to stop yourself, because it's much easier to get up and go work out than it is to stay in bed and skip your workout. Cognitively, that's not going to sit well with you because you built that momentum over time. So don't focus on discipline, focus on building momentum. That's one of the big tips that I give to anyone that talks to me about weight loss. So let's see here, going on with my notes. So patience. How do you practice patience? Now, that was a tough one for me, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie. I'm not exactly the most patient guy myself. I lose it on the behind the road, dude. I'm a freaking big road rage kind of guy, and so that's where I need to practice on and where I need to get better is with patience. But one of my favorite quotes: "A man who is a master of patience is a master of everything else." So that tells you how instrumental patience is in our life. If you have the patience, then you could really master anything. Everything requires a level of patience. So I would say, if we're talking about patience, like say patience with your kids, patience with a spouse or coworkers or whatnot, there was a book that I had listened to about practicing mindfulness, how to practice mindfulness, and they address how to deal with difficult people in impatient situations. One of the a piece of advice that they give is to practice using the phrase, just like me. That's really helped me a lot. Whenever I see someone make a bad maneuver on the road, whenever my kids are bouncing off the walls, acting like little fools in the living room, I try to tell myself, just like me, just like me. I do that all the time. When I was little and their age, I did things too that upset my parents. I acted a fool very many times. And likewise, I've made my share of bad moves on the road as well. I've mistakenly cut people off. I've changed lanes when there was people there that I didn't see because I wasn't paying attention. So it's important that when you see these things that test your patience, that you practice saying to yourself, just like me, because, none of us are perfect. None of us are. So let's see here. So going on. So being awesome. Okay, someone asked me in the questions, how do I practice being awesome? What do I do to be awesome? So the first thing you want to do, and hello to everyone waving, forgive me here for not waving back, I'm kind of a noob at this whole thing. I've done a few of these, and I appreciate all you guys waving there and saying hello. Hello back to you guys. I really hope you guys are enjoying the page. I really do. I try to put out thought-provoking content every day. I try to put out unique quotes that you're not going to see everywhere else. That's a big important thing to me is, that these aren't quotes that you throw a stone and you see them 15 times on any other given page. You see them all over the place, I want to give you guys something different. And also with the original content that I produce as well, I'm trying to give you guys something different. I'm trying to give you guys a new way to look at human nature and people in general. It's not exactly mainstream. It's not exactly, what you see out there in terms of, all these masculinity pages or these healing and trauma pages. It's really kind of my own take on human behavior. Well, I can't really say that it's my own take. It's really a mesh of different things that I've learned throughout my studies. So let's see. So back on to, let's see where we're practicing being awesome. So if you want to be awesome, and not that I'm the most awesome guy here, but if you want to be awesome, I'd say the first thing you need to do is define what is awesome to you. What makes a good person to you? Is it success? Is it money? Is it prestige? Is it power? What defines a good person to you? Now, I can remember, there's still to this day, I can remember a specific friend of mine that I had in high school that I hadn't seen in years. And his name was Ricky. And he was one of the most coolest guys that I'd known. I had thought the world of Ricky. Ricky was the type of guy that went up to everyone and gave him a hug first thing when he saw you. For no reason at all. He'd just go right up to you and give you a big hug. And, we're teenagers at this time. So who does that when they're a teenager? But Ricky did. He didn't care what anyone thought about him giving people hugs. That's what he felt in his heart. And that's what he wanted to do, So, I would say if you want to practice being awesome, the first thing you need to do, like Ricky, be kind. Is practice being kind to those around you. I'd say the second thing you need to do is be open. And be open and honest about yourself and who you are. Have a level of humility. Practice knowing yourself and realizing, when anyone else makes a fault around you, just like me, I do the same things too, and take that compassion and use that to help people to better their own circumstances. Practice kindness, be humble, and act, man, because you want to have fun, because you want to have fun and because you want others to have fun around you too. For me, that's what awesome is. So if that sounds like the ideal awesome person to you, then I'd suggest you start there. So let's see here. So let's see what else do we have? Let's see. So from being awesome to breaking the trauma bond. So now for myself, now we're going to talk breaking the trauma bond, and narcissistic abuse, Now, first of all, I'm no professional here to give advice on such things. All I can say is what I've learned, again, from my studies and the various books that I've listened to. So, first thing and foremost, I'd always recommend seeking professional help. Seeking help from a professional that can help guide you through the decision-making process of what you need to do. Now, from my studies, I can say, knowledge is power. And, the path to peace walks the road of understanding, So if you really want to make peace with the situation, first it's first and foremost important to know what's going on, to be able to recognize it when it happens to you. So now there was a really good book that I had listened to recently on the science of cults. What causes people to join a cult? What causes, people to develop cult-like behavior? And I'm going to definitely be producing content for you guys on this kind of stuff later on, the science of cults. One thing that they emphasize is, how to recognize someone that could potentially become a cult leader. What makes these people become cult leaders, or narcissistic abusers, as many of them are. And if you're dealing with someone that has a history of traumatic events where they've learned to disassociate, cult leaders typically come from traumatic households where, there was much trauma that took place. many situations where they had to learn to disassociate from their emotions, to cognitively deal with what was being forced on them. Also, another thing with narcissistic people and cult leaders is they learn how to manipulate people. When you're forced into an abusive situation, you often learn how to say what you need to say in order to make it to the next day, in order to make the abuse stop, in order to manipulate people or to diffuse situations. So that is part of the way that a lot of narcissistic abusers or people from cults learn how to persuade people. So, I mean, if you're dealing with someone that comes from a broken background, I'm not saying, we should just toss people aside, because they've come from a broken background. But if they're exhibiting abusive behavior and they come from a broken background, that's a good indication that you're probably dealing with someone that has dissociative issues and someone that has learned how to manipulate people because it's how they got by in life. So another thing that narcissistic abusers will do, or cult leaders will do, is they also try to remove you from your support group. So if you feel like the person you're dealing with is trying to isolate you, if they're trying to isolate you from your friends and family, that could be another red flag that you're in for a situation where you're going to fall victim to narcissistic abuse. Know yourself. Know why people gravitate towards cult leaders, why people gravitate towards narcissistic people. Typically if you're the type of person that has, low self-esteem, low self-confidence, you might look for someone that has this extreme sense of inflated self-confidence. You might look for someone that has, this extreme sense of self-righteousness to balance out your lack of self-confidence. So there are different ways that we become inclined to gravitate towards people that are, cult leaders or narcissistic abusers. So knowledge is power. Understand when you're falling victim to this kind of thing and seek professional help. Another important thing I would say in terms of dealing with these type of people is to realize that it's not your fault. What they're telling you is essentially not exactly true. They are responding based off the things that have happened to them in their lives and the environmental information that they have. They have a warped feeling of self, a warped feeling of a warped perception of their environment, a warped perception of you. So, understand that it's not your fault. It's not your fault that they act this way. This comes from a long established track record of personal abuse that they've gone through, or it could simply be a matter of the fact that they were born that way. It's just brain dynamics and it's not normal behavior. An interesting thing is they actually say that, the people that have gone through abuse and have turned to, narcissistic behavior, their abuse, are often treatable. You can help those people. It's when they don't come from an abusive home and they show narcissistic type behavior that they're more difficult to treat. They're less likely to be able to be helped. And the reason why that you can't help these people is because then it really is in the brain. It really is a matter of the way that they were born. So I hope that helps. I know a lot of this is going to fall short. There's no silver bullets, there's no magic words, there's just practice, practice and awareness. So let's see here. So that is breaking the trauma bond. Another thing that I can say about narcissistic abuse and breaking trauma bonds is, evolutionarily, we are kind of inclined to seek out toxic relationships in many ways. We're evolutionarily inclined to stay in those kind of situations. You have, whether or not you stay or whether or not you go comes down to brain chemistry. It comes down to brain chemistry and neurobiology. It's a decision that your brain makes to leave a toxic relationship or to stay within the relationship. And throughout the course of evolution, the people that just simply had the most reproductive success throughout our evolutionary history, going back 6 million years, the people that enjoyed the most reproductive success were the ones that had the brain chemistry to stay within toxic relationships, unfortunately, So, if you left a toxic environment, you were much less likely to have successful progeny. So because of that, now it's kind of ingrained in us. It's kind of ingrained in us that we have difficulty leaving toxic relationships. It's just the way our brains have evolved. So it's not you. It's not you. Oftentimes in a bad situation like this, we can end up finding ourselves in a position, where we ask, why am I staying in this relationship? I'm so dumb. I need to get out of this, but I can't leave. It's me. I'm so stupid, but it's not that at all. It's not that at all. It's brain dynamics. It's evolutionary processes that are out of your hands, that are really out of your hands. Where this comes in is it provides knowledge and helps to trigger other brain processes that can compete with the processes that compel you to stay. And by doing so, by seeking out support from loved ones and changing that neurochemistry, you have a better chance of leaving the situation if that's what you want to do. So again, I hope that helps, and so moving on, let's see. So we're going from breaking the trauma bond. I made a bunch of notes here for you guys so I can try to stay on track and make sure that I get all of these questions answered. So let's see here. Oh man, I've got so many more notes on that, but we're gonna keep moving on. Maybe I'll do another live on the trauma bond and cult leaders altogether. But let's see. So how to communicate with people and understand them better. So that's a question that I really like. I like them all. I like them all. But being a big fan of the study of human nature, how to understand people. For me, I tend to gravitate towards Buddhism, Taoism, Eastern philosophy, and neuroscience, and psychology to understand why people do the things that they do. I think it's important for us to realize that 90% of your behavior is shaped by non-conscious processes. Consciousness really is just kind of a buffer, it's kind of a dampener in many ways that kind of, feeds back on the organism and re-influences our thoughts and behavior, but 90% of your decisions come from non-conscious processes, and that's the same with everyone else, they're not, see, we take these people, difficult people in life, and we posit identity onto them. We come up with this character that we think that they are. And the truth is, they're not that character. They're not that character. The character that they think they are, the character that you think you are, you're not. That's just your self-perception. And that's a very small part of what you are and what drives the decision-making process, the self-perception that you have. 90% of it is non-conscious, and you're not even aware of it. Like, say, for example, if I ask you, what color is the word stop? You're going to think of red. Most people are going to think of red. If you try to defeat that process and think of another color like green, I guarantee you red's going to slip in there. Why? Because it emerges non-consciously. Now, within your environment, there is all kinds of things like that we are unaware of that influence your behavior. Earlier, I spoke about my kid and I used him as an example, and I could have said that because his bike's sitting right there in front of me, and that non-consciously affected me, and I didn't even realize that it happened. So when you deal with people, it's like you kind of have to understand, that they're not doing things for or against you, even though it seems that way. Their brain is responding to non-conscious processes that are triggering them within the environment based on the way their experiences and influences have shaped their brain throughout the course of their life. So it's the rings of Saturn. And what I mean by that is the same forces that have shaped the rings of Saturn shape our behaviors and our environments and the people around us. It's just that indifferent. It's got nothing to do with you. People's behaviors have nothing to do with you. It's really about their past experiences and influences and the way that their brain has been shaped. So that helps me when dealing with people. It helps me to depersonalize things. If I get up in the morning, say, for example, and I have an argument with my wife or something, I know that she's not making decisions for me or against me. I personalize it, and I shouldn't do that. I need to realize, that she's responding to her environment around her based off of her experiences and influences. It's the rings of Saturn. It's non-conscious processes that none of us are in control over. And for me, that really helps me a lot to deal with difficult people, is to understand, that they're difficult because they've had a difficult life. They're difficult most often because they've had a difficult life, and the signals that they're getting from the environment are causing them to behave in a certain way. So now how to deal with people, how to actually talk with people and to work with people. Well, one of the things that I could say, and in terms of dealing with people, how to deal with people, first understanding, and then second, actually dealing with them, is to be open yourself. I've learned that if you really want people to open up to you, if you really want people to relax around you and to share their intimate details with you and to form a bond with you, you got to kind of make the step first. If you're willing to open up yourself and to share personal details about your life with people. And I know that's difficult for many to do. I mean, sharing difficult aspects of your personal life are that's very difficult for many people to do. But I mean, I kind of look at it and say to myself, well, what does it matter if they know? I mean, it can't hurt me. I mean, what people know about me can't hurt me. I mean, for the most part, what people find out about me, are only a testament to, the good person that I try to be, So, I mean, don't worry so much about people knowing things about you. I know we live in a culture, these days that preach, oh yeah, rule number one, don't tell anyone anything about you. I don't believe that. I mean, the first thing you want to do if you want to get people to open up to you and to foster a connection is you got to open up yourself. You got to be willing to open up yourself and extend the same kindness and courtesy to them that you're looking to get back in return. And if you don't, well, hey, people are different. People are different. And, I mean, people have bad days. People are hormonal, So, I mean, just understanding and trying to give what you want to get back is how I'd say the best way to deal with people. So let's see here. Moving on. So procrastinating. So why do we procrastinate? So procrastination, I mean, that's another one where I'm not going to act like I'm some guru on procrastination. I mean, I procrastinate. I mean, I put things off, I mean, the important thing is to realize to forgive yourself for doing it, and let's see. I mean, last night there was an interesting lecture that I was listening to while I was trying to come up with a way to deal with this. And to answer this question, and what it really comes down to is, it's like we have an inhibitory response inside, and we have action potential inside, inside your brain. You have action that causes you to engage with the world, and then you have an inhibitory response. And to know that when you procrastinate, it's essentially because, you're getting signals from the environment, many of them non-conscious, that the environment is not safe to act in. For one reason or another. Maybe it's anticipation of further events. Maybe it's other types of anxieties. Maybe it's you're not financially in a situation to act and make the purchases or whatnot that you want to make in life, And it's not so much about procrastination. Procrastination is us personalizing it, to realize that it's really just a struggle between an inhibitory function within you that is triggered by the environmental stimulus that you're getting, and an action potential that is looking to be reached to take you to a place where you're going to try to act to better your circumstances. So another thing I got from the Book of Joy on action, it's the great Buddhist paradox. How do you know when to accept and when to inhibit and when to take action and to push forward? And, the Dalai Lama answered this. He answered the Buddhist paradox by saying, if you take action, make sure you take action from a point of love. So look at what you're doing. Look at what you're procrastinating on. Look at what you're putting off, and ask yourself, reframe it and say, why do I need to do this? Who do I love that this could be affecting, and move forward with your desire to act against procrastination from a place of love. Do it because you love the people that are waiting for you to act, do it out of love, do it out of kindness to yourself, do it out of love for yourself, and it comes down to a lot of times for building building momentum, small steps at a time, Get prepared. I mean, if you have a task coming up, Maybe you don't have to tackle that task right away. Maybe you could start deliberating and gathering information and engaging in fact finding, and let that be the catalyst. Let that be the small steps that you need to make to compel you to make bigger changes, is that preparedness. Also, I'd say do something else that, that you enjoy doing, that you've kind of been putting off, that may not be as important, and use that as momentum. Use that as momentum, If there's something that you enjoy doing, like say you've been planning on baking a cake all weekend and you want to bake this cake, and there's other things that you've been putting off, bake that cake and then use that as a platform to springboard and to build that momentum that gets you in the mindset of getting things done. Because for me, that's kind of how it happens. It's like, I could procrastinate on something all day, but then as soon as I take action, all of a sudden it starts to snowball. It's like, okay, well, what can I do now? What's next? What's next on my list? Let's knock something else out. So maybe you don't necessarily have to start with the big thing that you're procrastinating. Maybe you could get your mind used to accepting that action potential, dampen your inhibitory function by making those small steps towards that big action that you're looking to accomplish. So let's see here. What else do we got? Let's see. So also on procrastinating, focus on becoming promotion focused. They say there are basically two types of people. You have people that are promotion focused, they thrive on making new things happen around them. And then there's people that are inhibitory focused. They focus on preventing negative things from happening. Now, psychologically, the literature shows, that the people that fare better in life are the people that are more promotion oriented. They're the people that want to make things happen, not so much the people that are looking to prevent things from happening. So practice trying to make things happen, even if it's just baking a cake over the weekend. So let's see here. So I'm almost done here, believe it or not. So let's see. So now loneliness. What do you do about loneliness? So that was the one that I probably struggled with the most out of all of these, was loneliness and how to deal with that. So, being married, 2 kids, time alone for me is difficult to come by. I don't spend a lot of time alone. I'm not going to pretend like I know what it's even like to be lonely. I really don't. I'm fortunate enough in life where I'm surrounded constantly by family and have friends that I can reach out to. Last night, while I was mulling this one over, trying to figure out how to answer this question about how to help yourself if you're in a lonely situation. There was a good book that I had heard before on cognitive behavioral therapy. So CBT. So I went back to that. And there's a chapter on loneliness, where they lay out a step process that you can take to try to combat loneliness. Now, the good thing about cognitive behavioral therapy is it's measurable and it's actionable. It's taking actionable steps to better your situation that produce measurable results. That's the key with cognitive behavioral therapy. It's you want to have an action plan. You want to have an action plan that's going to produce measurable results. So how do you use cognitive behavioral therapy to combat loneliness? So the advice that I've got from this book that I was listening to last night was basically that in order to do this, first thing you got to do is identify why you may be lonely. So there's a couple of reasons why you could be lonely. Ultimately, because your social circle is not where you want it to be. You have a small social circle that isn't providing adequate support. So if that's the case, why is that? Why is your social circle not where you want it to be? So there could be 2 reasons why that basically they lay out in this book. Either 1, social anxiety. You have social anxiety. You have trouble reaching out to people and making those connections because of the anxiety. Or 2, maybe you lack the people skills. Maybe you lack the people skills to make meaningful connection with people and develop friends, So from there, the next action step that you take, once you identify, the reason for your loneliness is, you have to chart it out. and chart it out and label out the people that are actually in your life that do provide support, whether it be your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your wife, your kids, those that are closest to you. Maybe you have a neighbor that you shoot the breeze with once in a while. Maybe you have friends that you haven't seen in a while that you can still call on. Make a list of the people that are in your life currently that provide you some type of support. From there, you want to identify the kind of support that they offer you. Is it emotional support that they offer you, where they're a shoulder to cry on? Is it practical support that they offer you? Like you need help figuring out how to, fix your car or something like that, or you're working on a house project and you need help figuring that out. That's practical support. Or let's see, there is also, oh man, geez, did I just blank on that? So there's practical support, there's emotional support, and let's see here, where did I go from there? Informational support, So, informational support is like people that can provide you with knowledge about things, like say if you've got a housing project. Practical support are the people that are actually going to come and help you. People that will come and lend a hand, even if they don't know how to work on a car. They'll come and they'll offer practical help to you. They'll come and physically help you do things. Compared to the informational support, which would be like a mentor, somebody who's like teaching you stuff. So take the people that are in your life that provide these different types of supports and categorize them. Categorize them between who provides emotional support, who provides informational support, and who provides practical support to you. And identify where you feel you lack support. Are you lacking emotional support? Is it practical support? Do you lack an informative person that you can bounce ideas off of? See, this gives you an idea of the kind of people that you need to look for to now include within your social circle. So from there, identify people outside of your circle. Colleagues, coworkers, clients, neighbors, friends. Distant people that, friends of friends, that you want to get to know, that you think could fill those gaps, that you think could fill an emotional void or a informational void or a practical void. Like say you need a gym partner, that would be practical and informative support that you need. Identify the people outside of your social circle that would make a good gym partner. And, from there, like I said earlier, there are no silver bullets. There are no words of wisdom that are going to make it go away. It comes down to action and taking the steps that you need to take to make those connections. I'd say start small. Start with friendly conversation. Start with hello. Start with, hey, let's go get something to eat. Start with, hey, you know what? I've been working out, several days a week. You look like you know your way around the gym. Can we talk? Can I bounce some things off you? Let's go have a walk and we'll have a conversation about the gym. Don't shoot for the moon in the first interaction. If the chemistry is there, go for it, but you don't have to. You could come back and revisit that person and build the relationship slowly over time. Keep a journal and log your progress with these people that you're reaching out to. How close do you feel to them on a scale from 1 to 5? Either they're a 1 and we're super close, or they're a 5 and I'm just getting to meet this person. And that tells you where you are in terms of, increasing that social support system that you feel you need. So now developing your social skills. So if you have social anxiety, and I'm going to tell you, I'm a pretty socially anxious guy. I avoid social situations too much, too often. That's one of the things that I need to work on. One of the things that I need to get over in life. And for me, whenever I am in a social situation, I always end up finding, that, hey, it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. Generally, I tend to be, I'm not to toot my own horn, but I tend to be pretty well liked. I tend to be pretty well received, even though I'm always anxious that it's not going to turn out that way. So, understand, that these social interactions, that they're never going to be as bad as you think they are. We tend to worst case scenario things in our head. Your brain does that for evolutionary reasons. There are reasons why we worst case things, and acknowledge the fact that essentially what you're doing is you're just kind of worst casing it. Typically, even if you are a little quirky, me, I tend to be pretty quirky. I'm pretty weird. I've got my weirdnesses about me, and I'm always worried that people are probably going to think I'm weird and unrelatable, but embrace that, use that. I've developed a friendship with a number of people at work. They kind of know me as this kind of off the wall, kind of quirky guy, and it's endearing. It very much is. So take that part of you that you're worried that people are going to not perceive well and embrace it. Embrace it and give that to people. And I'm telling you, the people we're humored by each other's differences, And honestly, if they're not humored by your differences, then you don't need to worry, because they're not the kind of person that you're going to come across they're not the kind of person that you need in your life anyway. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. It's about finding those that, align with your own weirdness. And I'd also say too, to practice social skills, Dale Carnegie is a great resource. How to win friends and influence people. He's a great resource. Go deep in audiobooks. You can study that. You can study how to make meaningful connection and how to do a better job talking with people and connecting with them, So read a book, make notes, write down the notes that you made, and go ahead and practice those. And I'm telling you, what I have found from these audiobooks, like How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's not as hard as you think. If you take something that you learned from that book and you go and you make a conscious effort to implement that in a discussion once or twice, you really develop a pretty quick knack for doing it. It's not like it's going to take you years to build a social skill. Don't worry about that really happening. It really comes pretty quickly once you start to actually put one foot in front of the other and just believe in yourself, So, again, there are no silver bullets. There are no magic words that I or anyone could say that's just going to, like that, make things kind of go off and click for you. Inspirational quotes are great. They provide temporary cognitive relief. They provide a direction, but it's also fleeting, because at the end of the day, the brain has to change, and the way you do that is by making action. And again, thank you guys for all the waves. I'm seeing a ton of those, and I really appreciate you guys doing that and giving me your waves. Apologies for not waving back. I'm waving back here to all you guys that sent out the waves to me already. The reason why I'm not is because, I'm trying to go over my notes here and remembering what I'm going to say. I'm going to get better at this, so I'll be more engaging, as time goes on. Let's see, what do I got here? What do I got in the comments? And not why the mad philosopher and not philosophical reminders. Are you mad? Take care of your beautiful Angela. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. So thank you so much. So why did I change? Why did I change from the philosophical reminders to the Mad Philosopher Society? So, I'll be honest with you. Let's see. I thought my account was being targeted, dude. We live in a sensitive society, man. And if you're saying things out there that don't really align with people's self-perception, they go into attack mode. And man, I saw analytics were really slumping, and I'm not going to lie. It gets to me when that happens. I can't pretend like it doesn't, I could say it doesn't and bolster up all of this, self-reliance and all this and that. But the fact is, dude, when you put out a post out there and it doesn't do well, yeah, it doesn't hurt your feelings, but yeah, it does kind of, man, you're kind of like, geez, wow, that didn't do very well, huh? God, okay, I guess I got to kind of regroup and kind of do better here, but after that, it's like I kind of felt like I never really liked philosophical reminders anyway. It always sounded too Hallmark to me, And man, I think the scientific perspective on human nature is something that it's in the middle of a renaissance. Neuroscience is going through its renaissance. Neuropsychology is going through its renaissance phase. We're learning a lot about the way people are. When you start telling people that, hey, 90% of your actions are non-conscious, it sounds like a mad thing to say, dude. It sounds like a crazy thing to say, because that's not the way we experience reality at all. So because of that, the Mad Philosopher Society. And society, dude, because you're all part of it, man. You guys are all part of the show, dude. And I'm so happy and thrilled for you guys to all join me here today. Let's see, man. I think I might have a couple of questions. So what's your definition of patience? How philosophy can make life a little easier? So my definition of patience is, let's see. Patience is kind of a twofold thing. It can kind of work against you. It can kind of work for you, but I think patience is knowing when to act. It's really about knowing when to act. If you practice patience and that moment where you need to act has passed and you're still practicing patience, you're just procrastinating at that point. You're putting things up. You're not really being patient, Patience comes from a place of love, You're being patient with people because you love those people, and you realize that, that they have circumstances that have shaped their lives into the people that they are and that they deserve compassion and understanding, That's patience to me, How can philosophy help people to better their lives? Let's see. So, if you're like me and you essentially don't believe in much of this existence of free will, you believe free will is largely a perception, then how can philosophy help you? It helps because it influences your brain. It influences your brain. You read these quotes and they provide temporary relief. You adopt a practice. Philosophy is a practice. It's not a quote. It's not, words of wisdom. It's a practice. You have to live your philosophy. You have to embody it. And by doing so, it shapes your brain. It reshapes your brain through neuroplasticity and shapes you more into the person that you want to become. So I thank you guys all again, man. That was a lot of fun, dude. I'm going to be doing these again soon. Again, hi to everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining the show. I'm going to be posting this later on my page. These things take forever to save on Instagram, but I'll produce the whole audio out there later for you and the video on my feed for anybody that wants to watch it or anyone who missed a part of it that wants to go back and check it out. Aside from that, this is also going to become a podcast episode. Later on, after I get a chance, I'm going to load this up on the Spotify podcaster, which I highly recommend for anyone that wants to start their own podcast. From there, it's going to automatically be distributed, hopefully, if everything works properly, to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Audible.com. I'm on Audible.com. You could search the Mad Philosopher Society on Audible. I'll load it up to YouTube later, and check the link in the bio, man. Check the link in the bio. And from there, you will see, all my podcast episodes. I've got about 30 of them that I've done already, in previous years. Haven't done any of these in a while, but I'm looking to restart that soon. So thank you guys so much for your support. I also got a merch store. I've got a merch store with a bunch of gear from philosophical reminders, t-shirts and whatnot. I've also got my new Mad Philosopher Society t-shirt on there that I'm going to be promoting here soon too as well. So please check that out in the bio. Follow me on Medium. Follow me on Substack. Follow the podcast wherever you podcast. Your support is appreciated any way you can provide it. And yeah, man, I'm excited, dude. That was a lot of fun. We're going to be doing this again soon. Thank you guys so much for joining me and appreciate you guys. Have a freaking blessed week, man.